So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to customized phone charging cable. So I'll show you how to make the actual cable itself, where you can attach all of your accessories. And you can customize the color of this however you'd like. And I'm also going to be showing you how to make a number of accessories, including little leaves, hearts, which can also be a different shape of leaf, like a monstera leaf, individual berries, which you can customize into raspberries, or you can make multiple of these and attach them together to make a little bushel of grapes, butterflies, and then the other thing I'll show you how to make are little flowers, which again, you can customize. All of this is customizable, but these are nice little stepping stones or foundations, we'll say, for making a customized charging wire that is exactly the way that you want it to be. So if you're ready, let's get going. So we're going to take our yarn like so, with the tail at the bottom and the extra yarn at the top, and we're going to do our slip stitch. So that just involves folding the yarn down like this, so over top, and then we're going to fold our loop once again back over this way. So over the tail, then we're going to work this hook underneath that tail, but over the loops on the side. We're going to grab both tails and just pull to tighten. Don't pull it too tight, especially with the first slip stitch, it tends to tighten itself. So I like to make sure that there's a nice space between the hook and the knot itself. That's just me though. So to actually make the stem of the leaf, we're going to do chains. So this will vary depending on how big you want your leaf to be. Mine isn't going to be very big. I want to do maybe 6 stitches because this yarn is a little thicker than the other yarn I have. We're going to do 6 chain stitches. So working yarn is at the top around my index finger, and I have the extra tail just pinched between these fingers here. And to do a chain, we're going to take our hook and put it over the working yarn and around, so it's hooked it like this, and then just pull it through that first stitch. That was a little loose, so I'm going to tighten it a bit, but that is our first chain. We're going to do this again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keep in mind the last chain you do isn't actually going to be part of the leaf stem itself, because we do have to turn it around, so it kind of just turns into this extra bulky bit. So if you do want to have very specifically, maybe you drew out this little drawing and you have exactly 9 stitches, let's say. If you want to have 9 stitches like this across, make sure your center chain is 10 stitches. Because the one at the end doesn't actually get included in the same way, if that makes sense. So for this one, we're going to ignore this first stitch. So the first one off of the hook, we're going to pretend it does not exist, and we're going to work into the back loop of the second stitch. So whenever there's a back loop, you can see there's this kind of braid of yarn. So the back loop is going to be stuff along this left-hand side. So this side here, and then front loop is going to be like this. So if I'm looking at my piece sideways, which is how you work on it, the stuff further away from me is the back, and the stuff closer to me is the front loop. So for this one, we skip this first stitch. We're going to go into the second stitch here in the back loop. So we're going to put the hook through that back loop and just do a simple single crochet. Very simple. For the edge of our leaf. Very simple. The next one we're going to do for this one is going to be a half double crochet. So we need to wrap our yarn around the hook. Then we need to insert the hook into the back loop of the next stitch. Grab some more yarn and pull it through. So we've got 3 loops on the hook. And then we're going to grab some more yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. Like so. So there's our half double. Next we're going to do another half double. So again, wrap, insert into the back stitch, pull through, and then pull through all 3. and then we're going to do single crochets the rest of the way. So back loop with no yarn wrapped around, pull through, then pull through again. We've got one more here, pull through again. So that is one side of our leaf. Now I am going to add some point to this leaf. I'm going to do 2 chains right here. So we've got 2 chains on the end of our leaf here, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to slip stitch back onto the actual leaf. So into the front loop chain, I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I put my hook through the stitch, I grab some yarn, and then instead of stopping here and wrapping again, I'm just going to pull this loop through the big loop at the end. Then we're going to continue on like before. So we're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do another single crochet, and then we're going to do our half double crochet, and then we're going to do another half double, and then already we have this kind of leaf design already. This is a very simple leaf, so it's not really the most beautiful thing in the world, and definitely if you tighten off this string at the bottom, you can kind of pull the stitches together a little bit more in the center. But at this point, what you can do is you can just do a slip stitch into the stitch from the first round that we did. So we slip stitch, and then I can pull this through, cut it, and then tie it off. So this is a very simple, very small leaf. And again, if you want to customize the shape of the leaf, you can just customize how you're doing the actual stitches and what type of stitch you're doing. So I did more of this kind of leaf shape. I wanted it to be more centered, the width to be centered at the bottom of the leaf, and then I wanted it to be more narrow at the top. So this I'm pretty content with as a nice little tiny leaf shape. You can make it a lot bigger if you'd like, but again, this is pretty small. So I think this works well for the charging cord because I just don't want to get a lot of extra stuff in the way of my charging cord. For the extra string tails, we'll keep this one because this is what we'll use to attach it to the cord itself. But for this starting one at the end, you can just weave the string into the rest of the work. Okay, so to do the magic ring, you're gonna need your yarn, and your hand needs to be flat like this. And we're gonna hold the tail underneath our pinky like so, and we're gonna wrap the yarn around our hand and make sure we get this X shape. Then we're gonna take our hook and put it underneath the top right side of the X, and then over the top left side of the X, and we're gonna do this kind of twist around motion. And it's very important that you get the twist here at the top. So we've got this twist here, then we can go and grab our working yarn. So now that we have our magic ring like so, I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit. So we have this here. Now we're going to do our single crochets around the 2 strings. So you're gonna wanna have it held like this with the twisty part with the extra tail. So 2 strings of yarn are here on the topmost part, and then I just have this extra part, and this is the actual ring. So what we're doing here is we're single crocheting into this ring. So treat this like our stitch and just single crochet. That first one is a little wonky, but that's fine, and the second one is a little loose, but that's fine. We're just learning here. So I've got 2 single crochets and we need 5. So this will be our 3rd. This will be our 4th. It's hard to do whenever your ring is so big. I need to tighten this a little bit. And we're gonna do our 5. Come on. So there is our 5 crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, that bottom one's a little wonky, but whatever. Now that we have this like this, we can go and tighten our magic circle. So we just pull on the little tail until we have it looking sort of like this, and we can attach to our first stitch. So again, it's a little hard to see because the stitch is wonky, but we're just going to do a slip stitch into the first stitch of the magic ring. So this actually closes the ring up for us. So if you wanted to change colors, this is when you would do it. You'd actually do it for the slip stitch itself, but for this one I'm going to stick with just yellow. So now we're going to actually start the petal. So after the first slip stitch, we're going to do a single crochet into this same spot we just did that slip stitch. So this is going to be a little weird for people who are not used to crocheting into the same spot over and over, but this is what we're going to do. So single crochet into that same slip stitch hole. Next we're going to do a half double crochet. So we're going to wrap our yarn around the hook. We're going to insert into that exact same stitch as before, and we're going to do our half double. Next we're going to do 3 double crochets. So wrap around, insert the hook and pull through. And double crochet is a little different than half double. With the half double, I would grab yarn and pull through all 3 of these stitches, but instead I'm going to grab some yarn and pull through the first 2. Then I'm going to grab more yarn and pull through the last 2. So we'll do 3 of these again into that same stitch. So that was 1, 2, 3. Next, we're going to do a half double crochet into the same spot. Beauty. So that is one little petal. Then we're going to do the next one. So we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. Then we're going to do a half double crochet into that same stitch. Then we're going to do a 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do another half double. Oop, not a double knee, just a half double. And then that one's all done, and we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch, which is this one here. So this is actually a really good little heart. Look, it kind of looks like a heart. So I guess this is one way that you could actually do a heart if you like to do a flat one. I'm sure that there's better ways to do a heart, but that really looks like a heart. I would probably do 2 or 3 single crochets on the edges just to make them a little more bulky like the top, but it's a really good little heart. Anyways, so that's 2 petals done. I'm just gonna do the rest of them so you can see what it looks like. So we're just continuing the same pattern. Slip stitch, half double, 3 doubles, and then another half double into the same stitch. And we do that 5 times around the entire flower. Now that we're at the end of the flower, we're just going to have to slip stitch into the first chain that we did. So it's a little hard to see, but we're just gonna slip stitch. We have our final slip stitch, and then here you can just cut your yarn and pull it through like so. So this is what my flower ends up looking like. So this heart is made entirely using magic rings. So we're going to make the magic ring and work all of our stitches into that magic ring, and then we're going to tighten it and the heart's going to be complete. So for our magic ring, like before, we'll just do our little X and create the first stitch for the magic ring. Now we're actually going to start the heart. So first thing we're going to do is chain 2. So chain of 2 is done. Next we're going to do 3 treble or 3 triple crochets, depending if you use the UK terms or the US terms. So for that one, we need to wrap the yarn around our needle twice, like this, before we put it into the magic circle. So wrap around twice, and then we're going to do our treble crochet. So we grab some yarn and pull through the first 2 stitches. So we'll have 3 loops on the hook afterwards. And we're going to grab some yarn, pull through 2 more stitches. This is a little difficult with this yarn because it likes to split. So now we've still got 2 stitches on the hook, and we'll do 1 more loop and pull through. And that is 1 treble or 1 triple crochet. And we did that into the magic ring, and now we're going to have to do that 2 more times. So for 3 trebles in total. So there we've got 3 triple crochets into the magic circle. Then we're going to do 3 doubles. So we only need to wrap 1 time for that. So 1, 2, there's 1 double. I keep tightening my stitches at the bottom here. Now we're going to do the second one. 1, 2. Then we're going to do the last of the 3 doubles. 1, 2. So you can see here, this is 1, 2, 3 triple crochets, and then 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So this is already part of, or I should say half of the heart basically. It's kind of upside down, but that's 1/2 there. Next we're going to do 1 chain, and then we're going to do the bottom point of the heart. So we need to do a single triple crochet. So 1 triple crochet here. I shouldn't say single for 1 because it sounds like a single crochet. No, 1 triple crochet. Again, it's a little difficult with this yarn because it tends to split. I like this yarn a lot because it really shows the individual stitches really well, but the yarn tends to split whenever I'm actually doing the pulling of the through with the hook. So after our single treble crochet, we're going to do a single chain. And this is half of the heart here. So you can kind of see it a little easier on this angle. So we're going to do basically the same thing again, but mirrored. So we're going to do it backwards. So we'll do, next is 3 double crochets. So there's our 3 double crochets, and you can already see it's kind of completing the heart shape for us. Just going to tighten the circle a little bit to make it easier. So after the 3 double crochets, next we're going to be doing 3 triple crochets, still into the magic ring in the center. So there is our 3 treble crochets done. And then after this, we're going to do a chain of 2. So 1, 2. And then we're going to close everything off by doing a slip stitch into the magic circle. So into the magic circle itself, we're just going to grab some yarn from our working yarn, and we're going to pull it through the stitch that we had on the hook. And then the last thing we're going to do is do a single chain. Try and get that a little tighter. There we go. So this is looking a little bit on the messy side, but whenever we actually tighten the center circle and then cut our yarn here and pull that through, this is our completed little heart. Very simple, very easy. So you can do multiple of these if you'd like, but that is just our simple little heart. Or you could also do a nice little fanned leaf if you did it in green. And then if you close off the heart and then with the rest of the yarn here, just do a simple chain, maybe 3, a chain of 3, will give you a nice little green leaf if you did it in green. Would be one of those like palm shaped leaves. I don't know what they're called. Not palm, the other one. Monstera leaf, we'll say. Yeah, that's how you make a very easy heart. So the next thing we're going to be making is berries. So for the berries, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. You could make single little berries that go along the vine itself, or you can make clusters of berries. So similar to like grapes, for example. I'm going to be showing you how to make a single berry, and if you want to have a cluster, all you have to do is make multiple berries and then just sew them together into the shape that you're looking for. These are very easy, they're just cylinders, basically. Cylinder? Not that one. They're spheres. Jeez, not a Coke can. They're balls. For this, we'll be doing a magic circle like with the flower. So pinch your yarn like so. Make sure you've got a tight grip on everything, but make sure your stitches themselves aren't too tight. I find the first on a magic circle is so difficult. Okay, so there is the start of our magic circle, and like last time, we're going to do 5 stitches to start. I think most magic circles are 5 stitches. I don't know if that's the standard. That's always the size that I see people doing in tutorials and for patterns and everything. So, I don't know, maybe that's the standard? Maybe you guys can tell me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got our 5 stitches like so. And we're just going to tighten the tail. So we have this sort of blob shape, and we're going to slip stitch into the first of the magic ring. So there's our magic ring. Now for these berries, you can customize the size of them. I'm going to make these fairly small, so we're not going to be doing too many rows. So for all of these, very simple, it's just single crochets and single crochets into each stitch. We're not doing multiple stitches per stitch or anything like that. So single crochet around the ring here. Now we're going to increase the size of our berry ever so slightly. I don't want a really big berry. I want a tiny little guy, like very tiny. So if I wanted to make a very drastically large thing, like an orange, I don't know why you'd want to ever attach that to a phone charger, but if you're one of those people, I guess, you can do that. So I'm going to increase slightly, and how we increase is we do 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to single crochet into this next stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet into the stitch again. And this is going to widen the circumference of this circle. Next, I am just going to do a singular single crochet. So 1 single crochet, gone, into the next stitch, and then I'm going to do another single crochet. So this is the 3rd stitch of my row of 5, by the way. So I'm going to do a single crochet and another single crochet in the same stitch. So that's another increase, and then I'll just do a single crochet at the end just to finish it off. So already you can kind of see the cylinder shape starting to form. So for me, I'm not going to decrease yet. I'm just going to do single crochets around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then because the last row I did 2 increases, we don't have 5 stitches anymore, but we have 5 plus 2, so 7. So I need to do 2 more, so 5, 6, 7. I find with really small stuff like this, I don't like to use stitch markers because they just get in the way. Like, this is already really hard for me to deal with with all this, so I don't need this little plastic stitch marker hanging off my work. So I personally am able to just count. Maybe if you have attention problems, using a stitch marker might help, but this is just for me. I don't feel like I need to use it. So this row is all done, and if you wanted to, you could make a raspberry. So for that, if you wanted to make a raspberry, because this is already kind of raspberry shaped, I would do another row of single crochets, and then I would leave it open at the top like this. Like I would work the yarn and close it off, obviously, the yarn itself. So I would do a single crochet and then weave in my ends. But if you leave this circle at the top, it actually ends up looking like a raspberry. So if you want that vibe, that is something you can do. I'm not going to do that. I want this to be closed. So I'm going to start my row of decreases now. So we're going to do a decrease. So a decrease, there's two different ways you can do it. I'm going to show you what is called the invisible decrease. I think it looks better. So for a invisible decrease, we're going to put our hook through the first loop only of the next stitch. So if we're looking at the top and we have these two stitches, it's this first one, the closer one to me. So needle through just the first loop, and then needle through just the first loop of the next stitch. So we're combining two stitches together, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all of that. There we go. This yarn is splitting off a little bit. So we pull through those two stitches, and then we do our single crochet like normal. I'll show you that again. So first loop from the hook, first stitch from the hook, first loop only. So front loop like this, and then front loop like this. Again, I'm so sorry if that's hard to see. Invisible decrease is just like a regular decrease, except with a regular decrease, you go through both stitches. Invisible ones, you only go through the front loop. So pull that through like so, and then pull that through like so. So we just decreased twice, so that means we're down to 5 stitches. So I am going to decrease again. So now I have this kind of blobby shaped thing, which is so beautiful to look at, not. So for this last part, I have 5 stitches left here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut my yarn off. I'm gonna pull my working yarn through here. And then this is the tail from the start of the magic ring. What I'm gonna do with this is I'm actually gonna shove it into the berry. Now this is something I could have done earlier, most likely. Would have been a little bit easier, but oh well. Now the reason I'm shoving this into the berry is I do want the berry to be more three-dimensional. I don't want it to be very flat. And if you stuff the berry, then it will be three-dimensional, obviously. But I don't really want to use regular teddy bear stuffing for this, just because it's such a small object. If I just shove the yarn inside, actually ends up stuffing the berry for me and giving me the shape I'm looking for. So we need a darning needle, and we need to find around where the 5 stitches we have are. This, honestly, if you don't do this perfectly, it's not the end of the world. But we kind of want to grab onto the 5 stitches with our yarn just like this. Oh, ignore that. That's from the stuff I shoved inside. It's fine. I'll just shove that back in there. Get in, sir. So, I'm not being really precise with this in the slightest, just so y'all know. But I'm going through the 5 stitches, and then I'm pulling real hard to tighten everything up. I'm just gonna cut this little tail because it's annoying me. And we're gonna kind of squish it into the shape we're looking for. And this is what they look like if they're together, the berry and the leaf. So very simple little cylinder.
It's a friggin' sphere, not a cylinder.
The next accessory I'm going to be showing you how to make is going to be a little butterfly. So for this one you can customize the color however you'd like. It's going to be the same base shape regardless. So for this one I'm just going to do a simple white butterfly. So we will need to start again with a magic ring. So we'll start that the same way that we've done all of our magic rings. X around the fingers, and then hook the top right X with the left part of the X. And this yarn is much thinner, so it's a little harder to start the magic circle off with, but that is okay. So first thing we have to do is a chain of 3. So 1, 2, 3 for our first one. Then we're going to do 3 half treble crochets. So for that one, we need to wrap the yarn around the hook twice like we would with a treble. We're going to go into the magic circle and grab some yarn and hook the first 2 like we would usually. And now, if we were going to do a regular treble crochet, we would hook and pull through the first 2 loops and then hook again and pull through the loops again. That would be 3 times that we're hooking and pulling through. We're only going to do half of that. So I did the first 2 stitches. Next we're going to grab some yarn and pull through all 3. So this is a stitch that's halfway between a double crochet and a treble crochet. And we're going to do this 3 times. So that was the first time, then we're going to do the second one. Alrighty, so we've got our 3 half treble crochets. Now we're going to do a chain of 3. So 1, 2, 3 for our chain. And then we're going to do a slip stitch into the magic ring itself. Oop, just like that. Now this is one of the bottom wings, we'll call it. So this is one of the bottom wings, the smaller wings for the butterfly. Next we're going to basically repeat what we just did. So we'll have to chain 3, 2, 3. We're going to do 3 half treble crochets into the magic ring and then another chain of 3. Then after that we're going to do our chain of 3. Then we're going to do a slip stitch into the magic circle. Push everything down a little bit, and you can see the bottom part of the wings is all done here. So we've got 2 tiny wings already completed. Now we're going to move on to the bigger top wings. So this is going to be very similar to last time. We're going to do something and then just mirror it again on the other side. So we're going to do a chain of 4 first. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to do 4 double crochets. So after the 4 double crochets, we're going to chain 4 again. 2, 3. Then we're going to slip stitch into our magic circle. So you can kind of see the top of that other wing there is done. It's very hard to see whenever you're in the middle of the project. We'll see it closer towards the end, but that's the other wing done. Now we're just going to do the same thing again. So we're going to do chain 4, 4 double crochets, and then another chain of 4, and then a slip stitch. So I'm just going to do that again real quick here. And then we're going to do one more slip stitch into the base of the other wing just to sort of attach them together. I can't really see a real stitch, I'm just sort of making my own. So this is our butterfly wing base. It looks sort of like a 4-leaf clover, that I will not deny. So the center part of the butterfly is pretty easy for the antenna. We're just going to do a chain. So very quick slip knot there, and I'm just going to do a quick chain of 11. Next I'm going to cut that off, and don't cut this too short. You'll see why in a second. But there's our little center part, and what we're going to do to actually attach it is we're actually just going to wrap it around the wings like this through the center. So you need to make sure you remember which of the wings is the big wing and the small wing. But you wrap it like so, So we're getting stitching on both the front and the back side. And you can tie the 2 strings. Come on. This is challenging. You can tie the 2 strings just together like this. And then obviously you can sew everything together. But this is just a very, very simple way of doing things. And mine looks a little off because my red yarn is thicker than my white yarn. So it's a little on the loose side, but no matter. And I'm just going to tie these 2 really quickly. I don't feel like weaving the ends right now. I just don't feel like weaving in some ends. So I'm just going to tie this off really quickly. And I'm cutting this horribly just because I literally just don't feel like tying the ends. I'm being lazy. Obviously, if you're gonna put this on your phone charger, I definitely recommend that you tie in your ends. But this is just for illustration so you can see kind of what the butterfly looks like at the end. My yarn is fraying. If you wanted to keep it together, so it actually looked more like butterfly antenna, you could coat these threads with some white glue. So you could just take white glue and literally just paint it on, or like twist the glue into the threads like this, and then you let it dry and it will keep its shape a little better. But just for illustration purposes, you can see what it looks like without all of the extra threads on the side. So this would be our little butterfly. So the biggest part of this project is going to be the cord for sure. It's going to be the base for everything. So you'll need your charging cord, and then you'll need the color of yarn that you're looking to use. So you can start at either end of the charging wire, it really does not matter. And we need to start with a slip stitch like normal. So we're going to just start off there with our little starting loop. And now we're going to start actually crocheting around the wire itself. So this is going to be probably a little tricky whenever you're first starting, just to get the hang of it. You're going to see me struggle a lot, so get ready for that. But we are going to be working from right to left. That's just what's more comfortable. So you're going to take your hook with the loop on it, and you're going to string that underneath your charging cable like so. And we're basically going to just do single crochets along this charging cable, but around it. So I have this loop like this. Now I can grab some yarn. For the first one, we're just gonna do a little slip stitch. Get that on there, make sure it's nice and tight. So that is like that. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So we need to go underneath the charging cable like this and grab onto our yarn and pull it like so. So this can be a little tricky, especially if you have a cable that's fairly stiff. You don't want to be bending your cable, but this is what it sort of looks like. And we have the loop, and then we're going to grab more yarn and pull through both of those stitches. And especially at the beginning, I'm going to be tightening everything and pushing it to the base of the cable. Let's do that again. So underneath the cable, grab our yarn and pull it around like this, and then pull through like so, and make sure it's tightened. So we'll just do this a couple times so you can see what it should be looking like. So we can kind of see what it's going to end up looking like. So we want to make sure that our row of single crochets is nice and neat and is all in line. It'll just improve the look of your cord overall. And then whenever we go to add our accessories, this is where we're going to be adding them to. So we have to continue this down the whole length of the cord. So whenever you reach the end of the cable, just do a simple slip stitch just to tighten everything up a little bit. And we should have all of our stitches staying relatively aligned. And Whenever our cable is complete, this is what it looks like. So for a lot of these, you can simply take the yarn that was left over from whenever you were actually making it, and you can simply attach that to a darning needle like so. Find a stitch that you want to work into, so like this one, and we would put our needle through the stitch itself, so through the little V, like this, pull the yarn through, and then these are very simple. You could literally just tie this on like so. So we have it through the stitch, and I would literally just wrap the yarn like this, simply just to tie it. And you could tie it a couple times, however many times you'd like, and you can then weave in the yarn into the cord. It took me a while to figure out that word there, but yeah, this would be just a little leaf that we have on our ivy, and obviously it's not the same color, so it doesn't match very good, but this is just for illustration purposes. You can really see the difference between the two in this lighting, which is annoying me, but that's totally fine. This is just to show everyone. So that is what it would look like with the leaf attached before we actually cut off the extra yarn. And there we go. So now we have a little berry and a little leaf attached to our vine. And you can continue doing this along the whole edge. So anything you want to attach, just make sure you're putting it through these little V's here. And you can attach as many accessories as you'd like to customize how you want your charging wire to look.